about Rafe Esque, a teacher in central Los Angeles. He mentions that, like all rural teachers, he fails constantly. For 48 weeks a year, him and his fifth grade students are stuck in a leaky classroom, and the rest of the year they are on the road. He begins to speak on the method to his madness in room 56. He spoke of a moment that dramatically changed his teaching career. A science project was being conducted in his classroom, and he helped the quiet girl, the one that was always left behind, because her alcohol lamp wouldn't light. When he fixed the problem, the class began to scream that his hair was on fire. That's when he decided to always teach like his hair was on fire. In Chapter 1. In Chapter 1, several scenarios are mentioned that were handled badly by teachers. Alex's messy book bag being one because new teachers want to be so organized. Teaching should not be enforced by putting fear into your students. By the teacher being afraid of looking badly, they instill fear in their students, and they act in a certain way. He speaks of a fantastic video featuring a special education teacher who told a story about his son and the Boston Red Sox. He gives tips and methods to creating a classroom based off of trust and not fear. Be dependable in your classroom because the children depend on you. Discipline in a logical way that is tough but also fair. Punishments must fit the crimes committed in the classroom. Also, as an educator, we must be a role model for students.
Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is about Lawrence Kohlberg's 6 levels of moral development. Level 1 is, I don't want to get into trouble. This level of thinking is based on children doing things only because they do not want to get into trouble, not because it's the right thing to do. Esquith asks all teachers to never encourage this level of thinking, and that we can do better. Level 2 is, I want a reward. This level of thinking is based on children doing the right thing because they know they will get some reward out of it. For example, a golden star for completing homework or a piece of candy for behaving well while the teacher's out. Again, Esquith thinks we can do better. Level 3 is, I want to please somebody. This level of thinking is based on children doing the right thing only to please somebody. Yes, this is a good thing. However, children can't grow up thinking they need to please someone to be successful. Again, we can achieve more with our students. Level 4 is, I follow the rules. This level of thinking is based on children doing good because it's a rule. Esquith challenges his students to occasionally not follow the rules and asks where would this country be if certain historical people only followed the rules. Martin Luther King did not follow the rules, Gandhi did not follow the rules, and neither did Rosa Parks. So of course, we can do better. Level 5 is, I am considerate of other people. This level of thinking is based on children doing the right thing to be considerate of others. Esquith taught a lesson and gave his students a quote from To Kill a Mockingbird. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view. Esquith said his students were always very considerate of others after the lesson. But of course, we can still do better. Finally, level 6 is, I have a personal code of behavior and I follow it. This behavior is the hardest to achieve, but is the highest and most rewarding if a teacher can get their student to achieve this level of thinking. Esquith says that this is a personal code that resides within the soul of an individual. He gave one example when one of his students helped another student who was bullied. She helped him to the water fountain and cleaned him up. The next day, the mother of the bullied child was going around trying to find this courageous student to thank her. But when she got to the young girl's class, she did not say a word about her being the one who helped him. We can do no better than this once our students achieve this level.
I'm Josh Axon, and I'm going to be talking about Chapter 9 from Rafe Esquith's Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire. In Chapter 9, Rafe Esquith discusses art and the ways it can impact students far beyond what many people believe. He tells how when he was a young teacher, he grudgingly let his students participate in choir, thinking they would need extensive makeup sessions to save the lost class time. He later realized how selfish it was to think that his students could only learn in his class. The choir students turned out to need less help than the regular students. Esquith finally understood that students heavily involved in the arts are learning much more than just the art of study. They learn discipline, responsibility, teamwork, sacrifice, practice, correcting mistakes, listening, and time management, all while having fun. In this way, the arts can be a type of head fake, like the ones discussed in Randy Pausch's last lecture. Esquith then talks about 5 can't-miss art projects for different kinds of classes. The first is a Henri Matisse cutout project. Then it's a Halloween mask project, David Hockney self-portrait, Piet Mondrian's magic project, and finally a type of string art project. All these different projects which he explains in detail, are designed to stimulate creativity and teamwork, all while learning about a particular type of art or artist. These types of projects also allow for individuality in a world of standardized tests.
Chapter 10. Chapter 10 is about how to use physical education incorporated into things the student learns in the classroom. Unlike the teachers that Rafe mentions in this chapter, who simply let the students run around and do what they want, he takes time to teach his students the fundamentals of each game, and he writes his lesson plans accordingly to each fundamental. He focuses on the fundamentals and the aspects of good sportsmanship more than actually playing the game. This way, the students actually learn something every day. He talks about how the students track the progression and even use math and statistics to calculate totals, averages, and percentages. They learn things about sports that go along with their learning in class. The students in the end get to watch a World Series game, but only after they practice keeping score and calculating averages of a World Series game on TV. He says that there are two types of students that are going to be less eager than other students to participate. One type is the student who is afraid of getting hurt. Rafe's solution to this is to use softer balls like tennis balls, and then progress into using the actual balls. Another type is the student who is afraid to play because of past experiences. They may have had a coach that was hard on them for not doing well. His solution to this is to be patient with the students, be encouraging instead of criticizing. He also says that the students need to be encouraged to practice on their own or in small groups. He says, for a student to excel at anything, kids must learn to practice without a teacher constantly evaluating them. He uses basic fundamentals to teach his students how to properly learn a sport and have fun as well.
Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is the epilogue. And this is where Rafe Esquith talks about how the current culture of education and teaching tries to wrestle creativity away from students and teachers. And it tries to make teachers teach the same things in the same ways at the same time for the same reasons to all students. And then he talks about a particular student of his named Janet who wrote an essay about his classroom when she was after she had been out of his classroom for about 4 or 5 years. The essay mainly talks about how no matter what was going on in her life, she could always trust that that particular classroom would be a safe haven and would be a place where she could go and look forward to and enjoy while also learning. And it sort of shows the type of lasting impact a particular class can have on a student. And it extends far past learning facts of math or even morals. But he was able to create a safe haven for that particular student. But he also created a place where she looked forward to going, a place that stayed with Janet, a place where that student could always look back with fond memories. And that's what every teacher should strive for. And we're on. So who's starting this panel?
Okay. How do you build trust in a classroom?
Always be patient and kind when answering questions. All questions are good questions, and replace trust with the fear students have in speaking up to ask questions in the classroom. Is it better to let students run freely at PE or teach them fundamentals to a sport?
It is better to teach students fundamentals to a sport and then progress that into actually being able to play that sport as well. And it is also a good idea to have the students keep track of their progression in PE so they can see how well they are doing and be motivated to do better.
So which one of Kohlberg's 6 levels of moral development is your favorite?
Level 5, which is I am considerate of other people because I believe it's necessary for young students to understand that it's important to put themselves in someone else's shoes from time to time. And then what art activity from the book would you incorporate in your classroom?
Well, there was 4 in the book, but the one that I thought was probably the best is the Halloween Mask Project, which is basically where you set students in groups, and one of the students lays on a desk, and the other students have to put Vaseline on their face, and then wet some bandages, and then put the bandages on their face where they can still breathe, but they put them on their face, and then let it set in the mold. And then after it's set, you take the mask away and then let it dry. And then later, after it dries, you paint it, and they can decorate it how they want. Basically, the activity is designed to like promote teamwork in a way, but also as the materials being applicated to the face, the other students are wiping away, and they're really detail oriented with the activity, and it sort of helps promote teamwork in that way.